Well, thank you very much. I hope everybody's having a great week out there. How you doing?
Oh, far out, man.
Yeah, good, man. Good. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the times I have faced personal, a life or death type of situations. And I just want, again, to ask you to take a look at johnstarot.net and take a look at the website. Let me know what you think about the new redesign. I put a little work into it, and I'm going to put a little bit more work into it. It's an ongoing process, but I'm really happy with the way it came out. So I'm going to talk a little bit today, and another little talking head video, and it's going to go really quick, not too deep. It's a couple of times that I faced personal death when I had to face the consequences of my own mortality and my own life. The first time, and if you're, I talk a lot about getting sober and programs and stuff like that. So the first time that I faced a certain death, if did not change my ways, is when I was a newcomer, is when I was new to sobriety, and what was going on with me I don't need to go into all those details, but what was going on with me at the time was I had friends around me dying or going to prison. One died from a brain aneurysm. Another died in a car accident. Another one went to prison. Another one died in a phone booth somehow. These are kind of loose acquaintances of mine during that period of time. And I realized I was never that lucky to begin with, nor was I all that good looking, and that my that my time was coming up. My time was coming up pretty quick if I didn't change my ways. And I decided to make that decision. I made that decision. I've talked about I stepped through the threshold, and I've talked about how it was for me. It was January 6th, 1989, and for me it was Omaha Beach. It was D-Day, and I was either going to die on the beach or I was going to get up and move forward. And that was my threshold. And I made a decision that no matter what, I was going to move forward. That I wasn't going to die on the beach. I wasn't going to go back out and drink and use again. And I was going to go ahead and do all these things that these people in this program told me to do. I remember they told us, I was in a treatment center for a little while, and they said, yeah, 80% of you won't be here a year from now. And I said to myself, yeah, well, I'm going to be one of the 20% that is. I'm sticking around no matter what. And it was very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable, and took a lot of work. And I always say it was not ice cream and orgasms. Man, it was tough. And but I realized that I had to do it anyway. And I didn't think about my own demise, other than I realized that if I continued doing what I was doing, I was certainly not going to make it. And that if I went out and drank again, I would use again. And if I used again, I would surely die. And this was on my mind for a long period of time. Certainly the first year, 6 months, year, and then it slowly got better. And then once I got in the hang of building some type of sober life, sober habits, sober friends, sober routine, it started getting better. It started getting better, and the tension went down. And I'll tell you, that's kept me sober for the first couple of months. But after that, something happened that never changed. I realized, and it's still that way today, that how my sobriety, my whole life is dependent upon my sobriety. I wouldn't last. I wouldn't last 10 minutes if I went back out there at 68. Oh, forget it. I wouldn't last 10 minutes. So it is still that way. But I have a relatively comfortable life today, and I just continue repeating the things that I did when I was new, and it's been working 37 years. And I don't perseverate on it. I don't worry about it. I just go ahead and I have confidence in what I'm doing, and in the program I'm involved with, and the new behaviors I'm involved with, and the support I have, and those types of things. I know those things will tide me through some difficult circumstances. And it's worked. It's worked for 37 years. and I don't worry about it too much anymore. Sometimes I'll have drinking dreams, and those kind of freak you out. But those just tell you that how much you value their sobriety. Really, my drinking and using was really suicide on the installment plan anyway, and so it took a while to change. It got better. The second time I had to run into it, I was about 7 years sober. I decided to tell you the story, and I had a heart murmur, and I knew about it, and I got out of the Navy as a result of it. And I go to the doctor, and they do echo, and then they call me. They go, uh, "Could you come in tomorrow?" And when the VA says that, you know it's trouble. So, oh boy, I was about 7 years sober, and I went in, and I was going to need an open heart surgery, and they did a valve replacement. I have a mechanical aortic valve, and even with that, I've never stopped at being engaged in life. And okay, I went through the surgery, and I was single. I was managing a recovery home, a sober living place, and my family was still had pretty much rejected me. My dad, by that time, has passed away, and I'm out there. I'm out there on my own, baby. And I went through the surgery, and after the surgery, I'm back at the recovery home, and I was down for a couple of weeks before I got back on my feet. And I got more support from people in the program than from my own family, actually. And my brother was supportive. Other than that, not so much. And I don't know. I had a dream, and in a dream, I saw a priest. And this is symbolic. I always talk about dreams and symbolic imagery. And in the dream, I saw a priest, and the priest was handing me a baby. He was handing me here. Priest is handing me a baby. He had a black, white collar and all that. Priest handing me a baby. I said, what the heck is that about? And the way I interpreted that was, I was really scared by the experience. I didn't know what was going to happen, And as I understood, as I interpreted that symbology, was just that I've been spiritually reborn. I get another chance. I get another chance at this thing called life. And I've never looked back. I've never looked back. And then the next time I ran into my own personal mortality was COVID-19. I'm working on the ICU, and I helped intubate our first COVID patient. And all the nurses were looking at, ooh, what's going on? What's he doing? What's going on? And none of them would take that patient. And I took that patient for like 3 days. And I talked about this last time. I made a decision. I made a decision about my life. And that decision, I'm just going to tell you the basics of it, and I'll go into more depth in the next episode, what death has taught me. But my decision was that no matter that I had been given a lot, again, I've been given a lot, and what was I going to do with this decision? That this episode, and I told you about how bad it was. People were, the morgue was full. We were giving us Ryder refrigerator trucks were filling up them full of the dead. Tucker Carlson said, "Oh, there's no such thing." And I'm looking at it and go, "Yeah, there is such thing." And I'm looking at it, and you didn't know because at that time there was no vaccines and no remdesivir. Early on, it was really, really frightening, and we had on beekeeper outfits. And at that very first day in my hospital, they didn't want to give me an N95. I remember that person there. Oh no, we're saving them. And I'm thinking, what? You're gonna save it for somebody you like? And I think I had one or two stash, and I got out of my stash, and at least I had some protection. And anyway, the thought was, what am I going to do? This is what it's all about. This is where the rubber meets the road. For me personally, this is what all the training has been about. This is what all the hard work has been about. And I talked about it last time, and that life has given me a lot. Now it's asking me to give back. And what was I going to do? And not all nurses, nurses are so wonderful. Not all nurses felt that way. Many of them did not show up for work. Many of them, I have to take care of my Aunt Matilda. Her hemorrhoids have really flared up, and they didn't show up for work for 6 months. I chose to stick it out. That this is what it was all about for me. This is why I was given all the training, and this is what I chose to, and this is what I was going to do, and this is my ground. This is if I was going to die, this was the ground I chose to stand on, and I'm going to do my part no matter what. I think the scarier part of it all was whether I was going to bring it home and give it to my family, and I went through a whole decontamination process before I ever stepped into the house. But that we'll save for another episode. And I remember I was walking. I had this charge nurse who didn't care for me in the least bit, and still doesn't to this day. And she asked me, and nobody would take that patient for 3 days. This is early on, and she asked me, she goes, "Oh, you had that patient for 3 days? That's just too bad. That's too bad. Never gonna make it. You're never gonna make it." That's what she told me. And I looked her in the eye, and I said, "You know what? I may not make it, but I'm not going to die a coward. I'm not going to go into this next life a coward. I'm not going to do that." And I'll tell you, I must have scared the hell out of her because she never bothered me again. She never gave me a bad time over. She never gave me a bad time again. But that's how I felt about it, and because that was my decision. I had chosen my ground, and this is where I stand, and this is where I'm going to find out. In retrospect, I think many times as a man, I watch, World War II and the young guys landing on D-Day, and would I have had that kind of guts? Would I have had that kind of courage, just to do that type of thing? And I'm an older man when I was doing that. I was like 62 at that time. And I have my answer. I know who I am inside. I know what's important to me inside. And I don't have anything to prove to anyone. And I'm not afraid of anyone. And I'm not afraid of anybody or anything. And you have that kind of, the World War II veterans probably had that kind of confidence going through their entire lives. And that's what happened. That's what I learned. And I'm going to real briefly run to the end of this. So we're coming to the end of the pandemic, and I hadn't been to a 12-step meeting for year and a half, year like that. I've done them on Zoom and like that, but I really didn't help much, but I guess it helped enough. And I'm going to this meeting, and there was a handful of people at my first live meeting, just a handful. I don't know, 6, 7 people. And they're talking about the usual stuff they talk about at those, and how do you handle resentments and and stuff like that, What do you do with a resentment? And I'm thinking to myself, my head is not in that space. My head has been for the last year and a half. How am I not going to die? How am I not going to die? I was scared to death. And even what do I have written down here about that? I have a little piece written down here about that. Courage is acting in accordance with your values while you're afraid. Oh yeah, I was afraid. I served regardless. And that to me is the essential point. Courage is often misunderstood, not as not feeling fear. It isn't. Courage is acting in accordance with your values while afraid. If there had been no fear, there would have been no courage, only routine. And that's what I learned from that. So we're going to move over to the tarot page, and let's ask a quick question. My ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. I hope you've been enjoying my little talk, my little experiences. I'm having trouble with my camera, but I think next time I'm going to do something a little different, make sure it's okay. My question for the tarot: what should we learn when we face our own death? So, what should we learn when we face our own death? What can the tarot tell us about that? I'll just do 3 cards. What can the tarot tell us about that? What should we learn? What can we learn when we face our own death? I told you a couple of things I learned about myself, and I'll tell you a little bit in the next episode what death has taught me about life. So what can we learn when facing our own death? I've seen people in the hospital and decide to do, look me in the eyes and And say they've decided to do hospice, and I always thought, my God, that is courage. Would I have that kind of courage? And I've seen it. I've seen it, and I said, man, that is courage. So what can we learn? What should we learn when facing our own death? When the threat of death faces us, what can we learn? Just 3 cards. I'm not going to do any runes today. Got the deck. My first card is the Ace of Swords. What can we learn? We learn the truth. We learn the truth about ourselves. We learn the truth about how far we are willing to go. I'm not a big tough guy, yeah, but am I willing to face it? Am I willing to face death? Am I willing to face the truth of my own life? And I think that's the biggest thing. It's not so much death, it's my courage, was my willingness to face it. Did I have that type of guts, courage, and determination to face it and find out the truth about myself? And you see this one here. If this is about me, I see a little crown on top and a little wreath, and that has to do with victory and knowledge. And I had some victory over myself. There's no victory over death. I just dodged a bullet. But I had some victory over my own fears, over my own worries, over my own, and I learned the truth about myself. That's the second card. The 10 of Swords. The 10 of Swords, you see a man laying there with 10 swords in his back. And that's just telling you that, when you're faced with these types of things, you can only do what you can do. And that's all you can do. After that, you have to let it go and see how reality is going to reveal itself sequentially. You do what you can do, and then you stand back and watch and wait, and you're going to get your next answer. You're going to get the next step of what's going to be in that process. If you're facing a life-threatening illness, don't panic yet. Do what you can do. Do your prayers and go to the doctors and do what you can do. Don't spend your life panicking. Do what you can do, and then stop and wait for the dust to settle and see what's going to happen next. And certainly in all my death experiences where I had to face it, that's what I did. And then the third card, the 7 of Pentacles. The 7 of Pentacles for me in this situation means, you see a guy, he's planting a field, and he's got all the pentacles. And what that means is it takes time. Sometimes it takes time for all the pieces to reveal itself. And we want an answer to all our questions all at the same time. But that's not necessarily what happens. What happens is it will reveal itself one piece at a time, one growth at a time, one step at a time. And then it's a process. If you're involved in this type of thing. And the biggest thing, what is it I always say at the end of my podcast? Have faith, find courage, have faith, hang in there, baby. Everything's going to work out. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up for today.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot.
Well, I hope that came out all right. This one's going to need some editing.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot.
And be careful, be cool, be kind. I'll see you for the next episode on John's Tarot. Be careful, be cool, be kind. Find courage, have faith, and I'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.